them, and we'll get those questions asked for you. So finally, we'll be closing the event with the premiere episode of Yacht Ones, which is an interview show that we had Will Bruin on. He claims he's also going to be doing a podcast with me. We'll see if that actually happens, but put the pressure on him to make that happen if you see him here tonight. But anyway, let's get this thing started. We have a little intro video that will hopefully be playing, and then we'll bring Brian on after that. As you can see, that was flawless production right there. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Brian Schmetzer up to the stage. Hopefully, if he's not too busy, he's getting a beer, which is perfect. Perfect. So anyway, how's everyone feeling? I may as well do some thank yous to Optimism Brewing for letting us use this space. This is, I think, a pretty amazing space. Hopefully you've had a chance to try some of their beverages. Yeah, I guess that's my plug for Optimism there. And here comes Brian.
I'm going to talk about.
Any of these mics.
First thing I want to talk about, thanks for the beer.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for that beer.
Did I cover that one?
You did. You covered that one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, don't drink
Jeremiah,
it all in one place.
Everybody, thank you.
It's a cute little beer.
It's a cute little beer.
It's a cute little beer.
No, thank all of you guys for showing up and supporting a good cause, and Jeremiah and Sounder at Heart. Thank everybody.
Well, thank you for doing this, Brian.
Always happy to be up here.
Yeah, you know, we had you do this last year. I think it was probably the best interview you've ever done, and we're gonna top it, right?
Okay.
Okay. So
I can see the questions
I know you
already.
can see the questions. They're coming. They're kind of cutting fast. So we'll start with the way last year ended, because that seems to make sense. Obviously, on a bit of a down note, losing to the Timbers, you probably remember. But was the sting was it less because Caleb wasn't there, or is it just you lose to Portland and it doesn't matter?
Well, I've always said that I'm just part of the club, we're all just part of the club. So yeah, Caleb leaving might have taken a little bit of sting out of it, but it's still Portland. So that was obviously a disappointment. And you know, Tommy Dutra and I were talking about that today, as a matter of fact. We were kind of going over kind of the struggles we were having in preseason and just talking about the team. And, you know, Tommy's my good luck charm up my shoulder. He's always the one that bleeds Sounder blue. And we were reminiscing the what ifs, because our team was playing really super well last year, at the end of last year. We really honestly felt that had we gone into KC, we had as good a chance as Portland to beat them. And that would have, you know, eventually propelled us to, you know, a showdown with Atlanta. And we felt we could have given Atlanta a good game.
Were you expecting to get Chad or Christian back for the Sporting Kansas City series?
Probably not Chad, but Christian, yes. So those were obviously two big blows that happened in that first game. But, you know, the guys, Roman, Harry, they came on and did a good job. And, you know, we were close. You know,
you mentioned Tommy Dutra. This is a guy who's a local guy who's been around. What is your relation? How far back does your relationship with Tommy go?
As far as Preston Burpo, Chris Eilander, some of the other familiar names from the late 2000s. I remember when Chuck Grenade left to get a real job, which was painful for him because he enjoyed the sport. And Darren Sawatsky said, "Hey, Tommy Dutra, you got to call him." So I called Tommy up and I said, "Hey, this is Brian Schmetzer, coaching the Sounders. I'd like you to come and coach the goalkeepers." And I didn't have to say anything else. Tommy jumped at the chance to be part of the team because he had played for the team and he has immense pride in the organization himself as a player. And that was the start. I mean, I just said, "Hey, you want the job?" And he said, "Sure."
So you met him when he basically became your goalkeeping coach?
Absolutely, yeah.
And, you know, you look back at, I'm going to kind of get into this whole thing a little bit across the board today, but you look at the state of the developmental academy here in Seattle today, and you compare that to the system, if you can even call it that guys like you and Tommy came up through. And, I mean, how would you even compare those two, you know, developmental systems, I guess you would call it?
There was no developmental system back in my day, especially, you know, I'm a little older than Tommy. I'm 8 years older, so certainly back in our day, it was just, you know, my dad had a good team. There was a good team out of Tacoma, and we played against each other all the time. The rest of the teams weren't great. In those days, there was the Washington State Select program, is what they called it, and you know, we trained with the best players in the state, but that was just for regional camps and stuff like that. There was never any sort of really organized, functional, okay, let's, you know, push all the players, all the best players into one pool and train them and try and develop them like there is now. We have come leaps and bounds as far as our youth development situation is concerned.
You know, you look at that era, though, the era that you came up, even before you, and there were a lot of professional players that came out of this, you know, kind of ad hoc.
We're the hotbed of soccer in this country.
Right. I mean, do you absolutely. What do you, though, credit that? I mean, like I was reading in Matt Pence's book, which is coming out soon, and you can bid on some copies of out there.
That is a shameless plug for Matt. How much did he pay you?
But one of the cool little anecdotes in there is that when the Sounders came to Seattle, there was virtually no soccer infrastructure. Like something like 4,000 registered players in the entire state. And just you know, in 1980, they're signing players like you right out of high school.
And Freddie Hamill.
Yeah, I mean,
Mark
how
Peterson,
was that
Jeff
possible?
Stock,
Like,
Jeff Durgan. Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Well, like I said, I mean, look, there's always pockets of good players all around the country. I mean, St. Louis back in the day had a good base of soccer players. You know, New Jersey, New York, all of those places. I mean, soccer was popular. It just wasn't organized. So that was the challenge. And yeah, we got lucky. I still feel to this day, Alan Hinton can tell you the story. So Freddie Hamill was the best player on my youth team. And the Sounders had drafted Freddie Hamill, and Alan Hinton and Bobby Howe came out to watch a game at a field down in South Park. And I played left midfield, Freddie played center midfield. And in that game, I took a ball with my left foot, dragged it over to my right, and hit it with my right foot, and it ended up in the upper V, the only right-footed goal I ever scored in my entire career, and Alan Hinton was there to see it. And he says, "Who is that guy over there? I'm going to sign him as well." You know, and that was my start in professional soccer.
It is a wonderful story. But how would you compare the preparedness of Brian Schmetzer in 1980 coming out of Nathan Hale High School versus the preparedness of, say, Danny Leyva coming out of the Sounders Academy in 2019?
I was a lot wilder than that kid. I can tell you that right now. He's a nice young man, so I was not that nice when I was young. So no, Danny's had a taste of, you know, international competitions in various player pools. We recruited him. He's had a way different experience than I had. Again, going back to my roots, I mean, our parents knitted our socks when we were 7. We collected glass to go on a trip to Germany in 1974. I had really, really good life experiences in youth soccer. Danny Leyva is going to have really, really good life experiences through soccer, but they're just different. He's been already coached by a really dedicated and top-notch academy staff. I think his roommate was Victor Rodriguez, if I can remember right. I'd have to verify that, but you know, here's a kid, a 15-year-old kid, rooming with Victor Rodriguez during preseason, and I can just imagine the conversations going back and forth. I mean, it's got to be eye-opening for that kid. So good for him, and he's soaking all the knowledge in that he can.
Do you think there's any advantages at all to that less organized approach, though? Like, is there, or is it just across the board better today?
Well, I think each kid, and I'd have to ask Danny this question. I mean, each one of us, we used to go down to the playground at John Rogers, my local school. We could walk down there in North Seattle. I'm sure Danny Leyva has played street ball somewhere in his upbringing. I think there's plenty of, you know, the 10,000-hour rule. You talk about why Brazil constantly produces such technically good players because they play in the streets. I'm a believer in all of that. I think you should have a balance of each, and certainly you get a little more structure, and maybe that works for the United States, maybe that works for certain countries, Italy, Germany, places like that, but certainly Brazil, where are they producing their players? In the barrios.
And so do you think that we can, like, is there more that we can learn, or is it just we need to get more organized, and then that other stuff is kind of outcropping of the popularity?
No, I'm not a believer that we need to be organized. I think different pockets of the country can do it a different way. I mean, what works here in the Northwest isn't going to work in Jersey. It's different than Florida, certainly different than, you know, in Texas, and different in Southern California. So I think each geographic region has different pluses, minuses, strengths, weaknesses. The organizations in each one of those geographic locations certainly is important, but I wouldn't say that that's the only driver of youth development.
So, you know, speaking of a player like Danny Leyva, but also expanding it out to all these academy kids that you brought into camp with you, you know, you have, I don't know, 8 teenagers that are basically training with you. But how do you go about balancing the design? It's one thing to do it in preseason. It's a whole other thing to actually develop these guys during the season. How do you go about balancing the very real need to win now with also making sure these guys are getting minutes? And I'm sure ST or Defiance plays a role in that, but at some point they need to come up to the first team.
That's the $64 million question. When am I, as a coach, going to have enough faith in a 15 or 16 or 17-year-old and put them out in a league match? We're getting closer. I would say that I am an open-minded individual. I would say that if the player is good enough, he will play. You know, my own experience at 17, 18, 19 certainly shaped me. And like you mentioned, like you brought up this conversation, Danny Leyva is more prepared than I was for my career, and I stepped on the field when I was still a teenager. So it happens all over the world. Why shouldn't it, and why can't it happen here in Seattle?
So you've been in charge now for we'll call it 3 seasons with the Sounders. During that time, you've had to have a bunch of what I would imagine are very difficult conversations with, on the other side of that coin of maybe veterans who are highly paid, who maybe aren't having the role that they want. How do you go into those conversations? How do you handle those conversations?
Are you talking about Clint or Zach Scott or Gonzo when he was retiring, or, I mean, who do you want to know about?
Well, were they all different, or well, let's talk about Clint. What was your conversation with Clint like?
That was a challenging one. Look, I lost a lot of sleep with that one. Clint was, well, he was, I can say was, the greatest goal scorer that this country has ever produced. And age does creep up on everybody. And somehow, I tried to get him into the squad because I truly believed we needed him to perform. And when that wasn't working and I had to put Harry in there or someone else and, try to get him in as a sub, that wasn't exactly the way Clint saw the world. So we had a ton of conversations about it. And they were always open and honest. And, I got a ton of respect for the way he handled himself in some of those difficult conversations. But at the end of the day, I think the right decision was made because he's retired. You guys all sent him off in the right fashion. We all sent him away in the right fashion, and he was a big part of our club for 5 years. You go to players, like Zach Scott, those are the guys that it might even be harder. I remember Zach Scott telling me, in 2016, he goes, "You're not friggin' putting me on the field just as a courtesy. If you need me, I'll play, but don't you dare." This was in the playoffs and the MLS Cup. He was like going, "Don't you even think about it. Don't you dare put me on the field as a courtesy." So there's a competitive guy, and, it's like, how do you handle that one? I remember Gonzo, one of my favorite stories about Gonzo was there was one game where Gonzo had, taken the Panenka against Vancouver. In Vancouver, and Gonzo liked taking the penalties. He loved the pressure and everything. And there was one time when Brad was coming back or something, and Ziggy was saying, "Brad, you take the penalty," because Brad was our penalty kick guy, right? But Gonzo didn't like that. So the next day, Gonzo took a whole pile of balls way over to the side, and he took like 100 penalties. And me and Zig are just sitting there like going, "Well, what are we going to do?" And I go, "Don't worry, Zig, I'll handle it. I'll go over there." And I just sat there like this, watching him take penalty kicks. And I finally said, "Are you done?" And he goes, "Yeah." And, it's a little bit of laugh and a giggle there. But, you got to deal with those guys. They're such good professionals. They're so competitive. How do you tell anyone that, hey, you know what? Maybe it's time to, have a different role within the squad.
Was Gonzo taking Panenkas when he was just practicing as well? Was every single one a Panenka?
No, he was kicking the ball as hard as he frickin' could in the net.
And so then on the other side, how do you have that conversation with a young player or a player that's ostensibly in their prime, who like a Harry Shipp last year, who I'm sure there were times when he wanted to.
Harry's a nice guy. Pick a different one. Harry's a team guy. Those were easy.
Well, okay. Now you're gonna make me. Well, okay. How about Will Bruin? I'm sure is not.
Will Bruin. Okay, that's a good one.
He's not a nice guy. He's a mean guy.
Okay, so that's actually a relevant question because he's gonna be here. Is he in the room yet?
I don't know. Okay, good.
So.
Hey! Look at that timing.
Hey, Will. So the conversation about Will was challenging because in 2017, Will and Clint were a really fantastic combo. We went to the MLS Cup, And then in 2018, there's the rumors of another forward coming in, and is he going to take Bruin's spot? Where does Bruin go? We had challenging conversations, but again, with guys like Will, who are honest as the day goes along, it's okay. It's not a bad thing. He tells me how he feels, I tell him how I feel, and we move on. He's still here, he's still competitive, he's still helping the team.
So I want to bring it back a little bit to, you alluded to maybe some misbehaviors that you had as a youth when you first signed. And I don't want to get into this. I'm kind of setting it up here. The guys today are, it seems like a lot of players are playing video games. I'm sure you're aware of this. And they're playing video games with each other.
They're doing it in the training room and in the equipment room.
Oh, so right in front of you.
Right in front of me, blatant.
So the first part of the question is, what do you make of how much video games these guys are playing? And I guess the secondary part of this is, what do you think that activity is replacing that you guys were engaging in?
Well, really? All we did was eat and drink and play soccer. That's all we did.
Water. Drink water.
Drink water, Gatorade, yes, of course. So look, my idea about the video games certainly could be true for any parent in this room. All of you that have kids or are going to have kids, you want your kids to be active. You want them to be, healthy, physically fit. So those guys are healthy, physically fit. They go outside, they do sports, all that sort of stuff. As long as they don't sit there, 10 hours a day and play video games, who am I to say that it's bad for them, So I don't mind. We actually talked today about some rules in the locker room and in the training facility. Look, when they come into the training facility, it's a time to go to work. So some of the guys are playing video games on their phones. Well, that, shouldn't happen because they're there to work. They're there to think about the game, the training session, all of that sort of stuff. So I kind of keep a bit of a distance there because they're grown men. They can make their own decisions as long as their performance on the practice field and on the game field are working. What they do in their own time it's okay for me.
Have they roped you in at all into any of these?
No.
None.
No.
All right, fair enough. So I'm going to end on this. There's a media game coming up, I guess, next week. Of course, I will not be. I'll probably be participating. Are you gonna? How hard is the coaching? How hard is the feedback you're going to give us for this thing?
Well, I am going to watch the game. I'm going to watch the tape. And then I'm going to send in anonymous ratings that I don't know who's rating the players, and it's going to be brutal.
Well, Brian, that is a perfect note to end on. Looks like you got a better refill there.
Oh, thank you.
And this is Brian Schmetzer, your Sounders FC coach. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody here.
So I wanted to just kind of issue a bit of a reminder. We do have the silent auction going on over there, and I wanted to kind of explain a little bit about what's going on with that. Basically, all the auction, we had originally planned on having the auctions end at different times. We're going to actually have them end all at the end of the event, which is going to basically be 9:30. Essentially, when the Will Bruin video stops playing, that's when the auctions end. But anyway, you bid by writing your first and last name on the bid amount on the bid sheet for that item. Make sure you're writing clearly. We'll read the names off of the winning bidders at around 9:30, so you can know what to come to the merch table to pay for it and pick up the items. The items will be available to pay for and pick up until about 10 p.m., so don't wait much longer than that. And then all the silent auction proceeds are obviously going to the Seattle Children's Autism Center. As far as the 50-50 raffle, you've probably heard of these before, but if you'd like a different way than the silent auction to give money to the Seattle Children's Autism Center and probably win something, you can participate in the 50-50. Simply find Kelly Stevens. Again, she's walking around. She's wearing the Stephen Fry jersey. And if you have cash, it's all cash, or if you want to pay with the credit card, you can also do that at the merch table. As an added challenge, anyone that buys more than $10 worth of tickets can get stuff from our grab bag of mostly old Nos Arietes and YachtCon gear. Near the end of the night, we'll randomly pick a ticket, and the winner will get to take home half the pot, and the other half will go to the Seattle Children's Autism Center. And so with that, we're going to bring on Jacob Cristobal and the Rain panel with Bill Predmore, Megan Oyster, and Bev Yanez.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Hi, everyone. I'm Jacob. I'm one of the writers at Ride of the Valkyries, the section in Sound at Heart that covers everything you need to know about Rain FC. And making their way to the stage right now, well, we have Rain FC owner Bill Predmore. And slowly making their way, we also have defender Megan Oyster and midfielder Bev Yanez. Evening, folks. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Tangled up here.
Yeah. First and foremost, Happy New Year. I mean, Bev and Megan, this is the first time I've talked to you guys this year. Bill, we've talked a couple of times already this year. Happy New Year. Hope the holidays were good to everybody here. So first and foremost, we all know that a new chapter for Rain FC is upon us. You guys have made the move down to Cheney Stadium in Tacoma. Bev and Megan, just your thoughts on the move and what it means for the future of the club.
You want to go first or me? Go ahead. Okay. We're really excited. We're looking very forward to it. We're obviously very thankful for the memories that we've made in Memorial. And we are super thrilled to be playing at Cheney Stadium, and we're looking forward to the start of our preseason here soon.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's a new chapter for us, and I think it's going to be an awesome setup, and we're going to fill it out and have some really exciting moments this season, so I'm looking forward to it.
Bill, how's the move to Tacoma been so far?
Well, in hindsight, it would have been way better to have announced this move like in October instead of January. So we've just got a lot going on. So we've got Bev and Megan here now, but we got players coming in starting next week. Camp starts on Monday the 4th. So there's a lot going on. Moved the office today. Apartments, I think everybody gets fired up over the weekend there. So it's just lots to do. But so far, so good.
Yeah, and it's been a busy couple of days for the team and also for the league in general, because today the regular season schedule dropped, and you guys are starting the season out on the road at Houston. And then the following week, you guys have your inaugural game at Cheney Stadium, welcoming the Orlando Pride. Your just thoughts on the overall schedule and what opponents you guys are looking forward to. Obviously, anytime you guys meet with Portland is going to be always be the fun rivalry game, but just overall thoughts on the schedule?
You guys, any thoughts?
You go ahead.
I'm just so pumped to have a lot of home games. I mean, it's going to be so much fun to play at Cheney, and like you said, playing at Portland again and having them come to us. I mean, we're just so excited for those big moments. Can't wait.
Yeah, and I think it's always exciting, right? Once off-season hits, it's like, no! We want to, keep playing. And so once off-season hits and we kind of do our preparations during the off-season, and now it's getting closer and closer, and then seeing the schedule, it kind of just heightens everything, and it becomes a very exciting time. So, again, we're looking very forward to it, and can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just glad the schedule finally came out. So it's...
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah, would like to see that in January instead of the middle of February, but so glad it's out. I think it is favorable to us. We're always trying to look at it, analyze it, see how it could have got better. But I think getting Portland twice at home is great. Orlando twice at home. Those will be big games for us. The season's backloaded a bit, so we got 7 home games after World Cup, which will be, I think, great for getting people out. So overall, very happy with how it worked out.
Bill, so for those that weren't aware yesterday, the league announced that their partnership with A&E Networks, which had a 25% equity stake in the league, had come to a mutual agreement to dissolve that relationship. And naturally, it brought upon some anxiety amongst followers of the league as to the stability of the league going forward. Bill, could you just comment on that decision, or just your overall thoughts on what it means for the future of the club and the league going forward?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I first and foremost say I think everybody was happy with the work that A&E did over the last couple of years. That I personally felt, and I think most felt, that they were doing a really good job for the league. So it was happy with the partnership. I think in the end, I'd say it was the right decision to have made. But sort of the plan as it would envisioned originally just didn't play out the way that we all thought it would, and I think that was true of the folks at A&E and the folks in the league. So we had an opportunity that came about pretty quickly to make a change. I think both of us felt like it was the right thing to do, and I think the press release used the term amicable, which is a little bit of a vanilla word that in one sense it felt out of place, but I also think it was the right word to describe it. So it wasn't contentious, it moved quickly. I think everybody was trying to do the right thing, and for us, I think it's we're getting up a little bit in the short term by not having the games on Lifetime, but in the long run, I think it gives us back really control over all of the revenue streams, which I think in the long run are going to be what we needed to be successful. So I'd say, in terms of looking at stability of the league, this was the thing we needed to be more stable. So and again, it's hard, it's a complicated deal to create and to unwind, so it's sort of complicated to explain that in a tweet or something and have everybody understand it.
Yeah, obviously. So looking forward to when you guys start playing games in Cheney Stadium, Bev or Megan, have either of you been able to tour Cheney Stadium and just get to see what their facilities are like, or perhaps maybe caught a game when it was Sounders 2 last season, just to see what the atmosphere is like and how big that field is? Obviously, it's a lot bigger than the field at Memorial, but have you guys had a chance to just take a look at Cheney Stadium?
Yeah, we've had a chance to see it, both Megan and I. It's a beautiful stadium. We've got an opportunity to see quite a bit of it, right? Meg actually saw it when it had a little bit of snow. And yeah, just again, the excitement level is incredibly high right now. And the opportunity to kind of walk around and see it and kind of picture a lot of people in the stands, it's a very exciting time, for sure.
So you guys have had a chance to look at the facility. Do you think the bigger field is going to be a learning curve for the team's style of play? Because, Bev, as you know, you've been here since 2014. You guys took advantage of how tight and narrow Memorial Field was, and you played it to the team's advantage for a really impressive home record. Do you guys feel like there's going to be a lot of a learning curve in just adjusting to a much bigger field, or do you think it's going to open up to what Reign FC style play should be?
I think you said it. I mean, last year and all the previous years, being at Memorial was kind of an advantage because it was so narrow. But the rest of the league has massive fields just like this one, so I think it's just going to translate in that way. And I think we're going to just keep the same style of play and keep winning games and doing as much as we can on that field.
Great. So last season was the first year under new Reign FC head coach Vlatko Andonovski, and the result of the season was pretty well. You guys returned to the playoffs. Unfortunately, it all ended with a semifinal loss at Portland. But something that Vlatko told us reporters post-match was we had asked him, what did he say to you guys in that huddle right after the match? And he said, simply, quote, "I told him I love you guys." What does that mean? What was your reaction to that, and just what does it mean to you guys as players, knowing how much how much faith he has in you and what you guys can do on the field?
Yeah, no, Vlatko is an amazing person. He's an incredible coach, and he's very passionate about what he does. And I think very highly of him for who he is and the coach that he is. And he's very, very caring and wants us all to succeed in our individual ways. And of course, in turn be really good collectively. And his work ethic is incredible. It's very contagious. And so, yeah, I have such incredible things to say about him. I think I could continue to go on, but that was the main idea.
Megan, what about you?
I mean, when he said that in the locker room, I think I started crying right away because it shows his commitment to us and how much we meant to him the whole season. So I think Bev nailed it, though. His work ethic is unmatched. He just puts in so much time, and like Bev said as well, the rest of us wanted to match that, and that was the standard for our team.
What's an aspect of your respective games do you think changed under Vlatko's coaching style?
I think when I got told that I was going to be on the Reign, one of the things Vlatko told me was that he is getting a doctorate in defending. And when he said that, I was like, wait a second, is that a real thing? And he actually meant it. So for me, he really is a doctor at defending, and he knows his stuff. So every day I go into training, I know I'm going to learn something, and I just have a whole toolbox of defending tips now. So each day I learn something, and I know he's going to keep giving me more. So.
Anything from you, Bev?
Sorry?
Anything from you?
Something he taught me. I think it just goes back to exactly what I was talking about. He has, very high expectations, and he supports you, and he gives you all the tools to get to those expectations and exceed them. And it's, again, I'm very thankful to be a part of that. And I think, again, individually, the development, as well as collectively, all of us being the best versions of ourselves.
So we know the amount of times you guys spent with Vlatko day in and day out of training. I'm sure you guys have witnessed it firsthand. Vlatko likes to sing. How's his singing?
I think where this came from was if we win a championship, he said he was going to sing. So we haven't heard that yet, but we plan to hear that this year.
That is so strange because, Bill, when Susie and I asked you and Teresa about Vlatko singing, you guys said you had never heard him sing, but we've heard him sing down the hallway after a press conference, and we just figured you guys have heard it by the loads.
No, I have yet to hear him sing. I will ask him for a serenade and see what he does with it. But yeah, no, it's not one of the questions I asked during the interview for the gig. So, but I'll ask him.
So for those that attended or watched last year's YachtCon, when we had Vlatko Andonovski on the panel, he said that if Reign wins a championship, he will bust out his Liam Neeson impression, which Yael Averbuch said is really good. So now he's on the record for owing everyone a Liam Neeson impression and a serenade upon winning the NWSL championship. So you guys are all witnesses for that. Bill, back to questions about moving down to Cheney. Obviously, with the relocation to Tacoma, there's been people just wondering a lot how are they going to get down to Tacoma once the schedule came out because of transportation. Has the club, are there any initiatives by the club that they're looking into getting fans down there, whether it be like a party or a shuttle bus or something down in the future?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, look, I think when we decided to make the move, we knew it was going to impact some fans, right? Some, I think it was not going to be a huge problem for, but for others that didn't have a car or, an easy way to get down there is going to create problems. So, yes, we're looking at the idea of, I don't know if we'll call it a party bus exactly, but, that sort of concept. We've had conversations with, or maybe it will be a party bus. We've talked to Sound Transit about, is there a way to collaborate? And that's a little trickier, that Sound Transit doesn't really run the train on the weekends, and the timing is not quite right there. So I don't know if we'd love to do something, but I just don't know if it's going to work out. So, I think the bus piece will probably be the thing that we focus around. And, again, I think we're probably 2-3 weeks away from making an announcement around, it won't just be transportation, other initiatives around trying to keep this connection between Tacoma and Seattle and the Reign.
All right, that's pretty cool to know. Bev, so anybody that follows you on social media and that has been to Rain FC matches at home knows that you have a beautiful dog, an Avocado, who a couple weeks ago turned 1. Happy birthday. So my question for you is, if Avocado was a soccer player, what position would they be on the field?
Ooh, so for anyone that follows me on social media, sorry in advance for all the photos. I know I can be so annoying, so I just really absolutely adore her. Like you said, she turned 1 year old, 1 year, because it's not plural. 1 year old, and she's a blue-nosed pit bull, and it's been kind of fun getting to know that breed. I've never really been around that breed a little bit, so it's been fun to have a dog. And just in general, the unconditional love that they provide. So having had her now for this long, we watch soccer all the time. She'll sit in front of the TV and she'll actually we think she's watching soccer, but she's probably just staring at all the different colors on the screen. But she's an out and out defender for sure. She's a defender. OT and I will actually play 2v1. She has a little mini soccer ball, and we'll practice magging her and stuff. And she's a true defender for sure.
So a true defender. Megan, are you going to start coaching Avocado and having her run through the drills?
Get her out there. Vlatko's got the toolbox, I'm telling you. He'll give her the tips.
You know what? We have a little bit of time. Does anybody here in the crowd have questions for Bev, Megan, or Bill Predmore? How excited are you about playing on grass?
So excited. I think Pino said it added 5 years to her career, so I think that goes for all of us.
Question about Yael Averbuch. Will she be back with the team?
I think that's a tough one. I mean, she's been dealing with sort of personal health issues for, quite a while. I think it really affected her all of last season, so I think we'll probably have some news on that next week, but I think it's going to be tough for her to, make an impact this season for us. So, we'd love to find a way to get her back on here, but it's one of those things where the timeline is unpredictable. It could be tomorrow or 5 years from now. We just don't know. So, fingers crossed.
The team is scheduled to have a new secondary/away jersey. Can you provide us to a release date for that?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Release date on a secondary/away jersey.
I cannot. I was sometime we'll show it sometime, I think, in March. So we've got a couple events that we'll do down at Cheney during the month in preseason. It's probably the latter one, so I would guess probably the 4th week of March.
Okay. Megan and Bev, we recently just got over Snowpocalypse, Snowmageddon. How was that for you guys, experiencing such a major snowstorm with our beautiful Pacific Northwest terrain full of hills and just it becoming ice?
That was unreal. My husband and I live down in Federal Way, and we have a house down there, and so it was kind of fun to wake up. I think we ended up getting 9.5 inches. And just have a backyard where we took Avocado outside and she was fluffing around in the snow. We went sledding in our front yard a little bit down the driveway. So it was really fun to enjoy it for a little while. I really had a lot of fun. And then by week 1, I was getting a little stir crazy, okay, I need to get back outside and kicking the ball around and stuff. So, but it was really fun. It was fun to soak that in for a little bit and enjoy the snow. So.
Megan, how about you?
I mean, I'm from Chicago, so snow doesn't scare me kind of like it does to people here. It seemed like the city kind of shut down, and we were joking. We became soccer event coordinators trying to find a place to train. We were calling all the facilities trying to see who was open. But yeah, it was still fun. It was really pretty to look out and see the city covered in white snow.
Bill, how did you and the family manage through the snow?
I think it'll be a fascinating tale for me to share. But, whatever. We had 4 kids, so they were nuts. So it's whatever. Exactly what you'd expect. So.
I guess we'll just wrap it up on this. Each of you, what is your final message to Rain FC fans as we look forward and get ready for the 2019 season?
We look so forward to your support, and we can't wait for season to begin. And again, we're thankful for each and every one of you that supports us, and we hope to see you at Cheney Stadium.
Megan, Bill?
I second that. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in the stands. You can have beer in your seats now, so that's a big deal. Maybe we'll get a party bus going too, so maybe you can bring an Optimism Brewery beer on the bus. But yeah, again, just so excited to see you guys in the stands, and thank you so much in advance for your support.
Yeah, would love to have everybody out for Orlando's first match. You know, it'll be I think a historic game for us. So hopefully people come down, give it a shot. And again, I think it's going to be the experience watching the game is going to be like, a million times better than what we were able to do in Memorial. So I feel like this will be an experience that we're finally sort of proud to put on. It's been tough sometimes. In Memorial, just knowing what the limitations are and what we wanted it to be, and it just couldn't be that there. So I really think the folks at Cheney did an amazing job with all of the things that happen around the match. So I know these guys will do a great job on the pitch, but I finally feel like we can deliver off the pitch as well.
All right. Well, Bev, Megan, and Bill, thank you very much for taking the time to come down and chat with us and for being part of YachtCon again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Give it up to Rain FC's Bev Yanez, Megan Oyster, and Bill Predmore.
And thank you, Jacob, for doing this. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Megan. So we're going to get into our Sounders player segment of this coming up pretty soon here. But before we do that, I want to talk about a few of the prizes that we have available, or auction items. I guess they're not really prizes if you're paying for them, are they? But we have a few different Sounders sideline experiences. Last year, the big prize for YachtCon was what we called the No Saudietes experience, where we brought you and a friend into the press box. We had a pregame meal with all the fancy press. We went down to the field, experienced that, and then they hung out with us for about a half in the press box. That's one of the items that is going for auction. And Emily has some things I think she wants to say. Oh.
The current high bidder on the Chad Marshall pillow is Coach Brian Schmetzer.
And how much is it? So Brian, just so you know, there's also a Chad Marshall pillow that we had custom made, and the current high bidder is Brian Schmetzer at $100. And I'm sure he would be very upset, but it would be awesome if someone outbid him. But we have one of the other prizes that we had is from the Tacoma Defiance, and Dave Clark was going to come and tell you about it. We're selling these 50-50 raffle tickets like hotcakes as well, but Dave is going to tell you a little bit about the broadcaster experience that we're auctioning off.
So thanks to the Tacoma Defiance and the broadcast team, we're going to host you guys literally the pregame, the first half, and halftime, as well as you're going to get a field tour and 4 tickets to the Summit Club. So it's kind of a Tacoma Defiance experience down there at Cheney. We're going to give you some behind-the-scenes stuff, hang out with myself, Andrew Harvey, who's also a Sounder. We're the broadcasters for the team, so we just thought it'd be a nice way to give you an experience down there at Cheney Stadium with Tacoma Defiance, where if you've watched preseason, you're going to see a lot of the young kids who are coming forward for the Sounders. So that's available. Last check, I think, was $80. Honestly, you're getting 4 Summit Club passes and a field tour, so it should go for a little bit more than $80. So head on out there.
We also have some wine packages from Full Pull Wines, which I must tell you, Full Pull Wines, if there's one company that has done more to support No Saudietes, it is certainly Full Pull Wines. And if that would be a wonderful way of saying thank you for basically allowing us to exist since 2000. 11, I think. Is that right, Aaron? 2011 that we started this? I'm going to say Aaron said yes. But anyway, Alex, you want to bring down the Sounders players and we'll get that started. And we'll have a short break while they come down here. Looks like we're getting, it's the mic, oh, there we go. So welcome Jonathan Campbell, Will Bruin, and Jordan McCrary to the stage. These are very stable chairs, so don't embarrass yourself on these. But anyway, thanks for coming, guys. I know this is a busy part of the year for you. I know this is tough to kind of get you into to make this time. So I really do appreciate it. I'm sure everyone here really appreciates it. So thank you very much. So I wanted to start with a question for Jordan and Jonathan. You guys were college teammates, correct? How close how were you guys friends? How well did you know each other? You played 3 years together, right?
So actually, I've known him before college.
Oh, okay.
So myself and Johnny Campbell over here played on the national team together when we were younger with the youth team, and we actually went to quite a few camps. We were in Israel, played in there for a tournament, and then we ended up going to the same school, and we're there, 4 years actually? Yeah.
Okay. So were you guys like roommates in college? Like did you hang out a lot when you guys were in college?
We were not roommates, but yeah, that's my guy.
Okay.
Yeah, Jordan was actually a year ahead of me. Him and one other player were actually like two big reasons why I committed to UNC. So they had already committed there, and so I decided to do the same. But he was a year ahead of me, so we weren't roommates at that point.
Do the two of you have any beefs you want to quash right now on stage that we need to get through?
No, we've hashed those out in practices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all three of you guys came through the college system. It seems very different than even none of you are that old, but yet it seems very different than the system that the players are coming in today. You have 15-year-old players training with you at the first team. I'll just put it to all three of you. When you look at what the players are going through now, do you look at that longingly, or do you relish the extra freedom that you had when you were young?
For me personally, I'm happy I played in high school and college, and because I played baseball and basketball too, not in college but in high school. But I look at these guys; they're for example, Danny Leyva. He's going to be playing soccer a long time. That's a good thing. But for me, from my personal experience, I'm happy I went the college route and got to experience that.
I would say, yeah, very similar. I grew up playing multiple sports and everything, and I'm very happy with the route I took. Went through from a youth national, went into college at Carolina, had a great experience on and off the field and everything, met some good people while I was there, and it took me here. And I mean, I'm appreciative of everything I've been through. It would have been nice to have a club where I could develop a little bit differently underneath a professional level, but at the same time, I think it's good that that's coming up now and younger players can do that and they have the option for it.
And did you play any other sports growing up, John?
Yeah, I was gonna just say, I mean, I played basketball growing up, and I loved it. But I think now that I decided to play soccer, I would have liked to have, done that earlier. But at the time, I hadn't made that decision, and it's hard to kind of go down that road looking back.
So how have you guys have been here 1, 2 New Year's. How are you settling into Seattle? Are you feeling like Seattleites even though you've only been here a relatively short time? You can say no. It's okay.
I found an apartment, so that was a good start.
I don't know if I would say I'm a full Seattleite, but I do recycle a lot now.
I have like a running beef with garbage men because apparently I'm not composting correctly, and they'll just leave it in there. And I'm like, but yes, I definitely feel like a Seattleite now. If it's like 45, I'm like, God, it's so cold out.
So, Jordan and Jonathan, you went to UNC, obviously a big basketball school. Did you happen to watch the game last night?
So, nope, couldn't watch the game last night, but I did watch the highlights.
I guess you were a little busy.
A little bit.
Right.
We saw the first 3 minutes.
Okay.
So we had that in the locker room at least.
And so have any of you ever had a shoe or a boot completely blow out? Like, this is what happened last night, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't weigh that much. I can't do that.
I obviously don't weigh that.
I'm close, but never had that.
So, Jonathan, your Instagram handle is Johnny Football, which I find perfectly, like, just low-key. No. Where did you come up with that name? And tell us a little bit about your Instagram presence. I am fascinated by it.
Yeah, so it was Johnny Campbell 16, and then I came over and I was like, okay, well, I got to switch numbers. Alex Rodon had 16, and I was like kind of just at the point where I was like, well, screw it. I got to get rid of just numbers in general so that I don't have to do this. So I switched it over to that, and I actually thought about it like 3 years ago, but Johnny Football at the time for Johnny Manziel didn't have the best rep. And so it was kind of a play off of that, but my agent was like, maybe you should hold off on that. So I waited 3 years and I was like, all right, it's time. Johnny Manziel's kind of out of the picture now.
And so are the other players giving Johnny Football a hard time for his seemingly sponsored posts?
I was gonna say,
I
don't think the Sounders guys have caught on to it yet. You know, like
did I just blow your cover?
We've definitely caught on to it. We just want to know how to approach this right now.
Okay, well, let's do this right now.
There's always a feel
But
out
the Chicago guys give me a lot of heat for it. So
I'm trying to use all the Johnny
I
codes
definitely
I
catch
can.
a fair share.
Yeah, give me another 2 weeks with them, and it'll be.
Okay, good. Now, Jordan, one of your most recent Instagram post is you doing donuts in a very nice car in the snow. How did that whole thing go down? That looked like a lot of fun.
I wish I did hit the donuts, but no. So I'm from Atlanta. We don't get snow like that.
Right.
So when I moved up north, I played at Boston and Toronto area for a little bit. So that's when it's snowing like crazy. Bought my first big jacket. I've just not ever really been a fan of it. So then next thing you know, I saw it snowing here, and I heard it doesn't really snow here. So this is my chance.
It doesn't.
I'm getting out there. I'm having some fun. So I got out there early a little bit, and it was still covered. No one had walked over, tried to plow it or anything. So I had a little bit of fun out there. You know, I built my own snowman.
So, Jonathan, Wikipedia, at least, and I don't know how reliable this is, but it seems to think that you were that you played for Mark Nichols at the Carolina Dynamo. Did that actually happen?
Yes, I played for Mark Nichols and Chris Little, so they're both here now, and so that kind of led me to doing the PDL in my junior summer. So that was the reason why I kind of had the connection to come out here, and you know they've done very well at the club.
And so, are you able to use connections from your younger days to move through the system? And I guess this is kind of, again, for all three of you guys, how much help has it been to know, like, how much are you able to use those connections to kind of further advance your playing career?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say the soccer world is very connected, and like you don't want to burn down bridges like that. You know, how much it helped, you never really know. But if you burn down the bridge, it probably will hurt you.
I agree with what he said. I knew like Chris Little and everything growing up from club soccer. He would travel around scouting out players and everything. And personally, I never really reached out to anyone to try and help further anything, but I think the same thing. I didn't burn any bridges, and I was always like, good people will meet good people. And I think they may have said something in the background that always helped out.
Yeah, I think inevitably everybody's career comes to an end, and if you want to stay in the soccer world, networking while you're playing is a great way to do that because, you know, whether you want to be on the front office side, whether you want to be on the coaching side, you're going to run into somebody that knows somebody you played for or somebody you personally played for. It's just inevitable. So I think making those connections now and just, you know, getting out there and meeting as many people as you can is only going to help you in the long run.
So, I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought here. I know, it's not like a live event or anything like that, right? What was this is where I was going with this. You played for Owen Coyle at Houston.
Yeah.
Short time. What was that experience like? It seemed like it was an interesting environment that he was.
Yeah, Owen was. I loved him as a person. Great guy. Great guy. You know, when it came to tactically, it was like, let's just, you know, kick it into the channels and chase it down. Very like old English style. You know, and he was like, you're a big guy, just hold every ball you get. It should be easy. I'm like, oh, yeah, getting crushed by 2 7-foot center backs. But no, I loved Owen. Great person, very personable. But, you know, unfortunately, it didn't work out, and I'm actually not sure where he's at now. I know he went to Blackpool, and then that didn't work out either, and I'm not sure. You might want to check, see what Wikipedia says.
I know. Wikipedia's hooking me up with the research. What kind of advice, when you all three of you, I suppose, were reasonably high draft picks coming into the MLS draft, but especially Jordan and Jonathan, it's a different world now. Like being a first-round draft pick doesn't guarantee you really anything these days. What kind of how do you handle the high of having your name called and being up on stage, and then immediately you're competing for a roster spot when you show up at camp?
I think it's awesome. I love it. Everything about competing and just being out playing a sport you love every single day, day in, day out. I love it. My first year in, my coach kept preaching to me just patience, because the guy ahead of me was actually a top 2, top 1 like draft pick. So he had already solidified his spot. He already paid his dues, and he was playing. So personally, I just took that as a challenge. I'm just going to keep grinding, put in my work every single day, and I'm going to see where it takes me.
Yeah, I think if you look like 10 years ago, if you were coming out as a top draft pick, it might be something where you think you'd immediately be starting. But I know it's, you know, different now, and I think people have to look at that and understand that even if you're drafted, I mean, you're competing for a spot just for, you know, on the roster immediately. So it is different.
Yeah, I definitely think with draft picks now, and the more teams invest in their academies and the more academies have a role going forward, it's going to be harder for draft picks that weren't part of the academies. You know, and that just shows for me. I was drafted to Houston out of Indiana. I don't think they maybe signed maybe 2 academy guys before that. So, you know, timing was good for me. But, you know, sometimes all you need is one little opportunity, and now I'm going into my 9th preseason, hopefully many more to come. But, you know, it's just something that it speaks the evolution of the game. You got more guys coming up in the academy that are going to be competing at a younger age, and I think that's a win-win for clubs and players.
You know, one of the recurring themes that we have today is talking about the way that the academy has been integrated into the Sounders. One of the most obvious ways was having all these teenagers come through preseason with you. What was, you know, I'm sure for them it was this amazing experience to be exposed to these players that, you know, they watched growing up or whatever. But what was it like for you guys to have literal teenagers, high school kids, hanging out at training, hanging out in the team hotel? How did you go about navigating that, and what did you think of it?
It's awesome. They got to do all like the rookie duties.
Yeah, my room kind of on the second trip in Tucson, my room kind of turned into the high school like Fortnite room. So that's when I started catching up on all my Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking about, I was like, man, I wish I had this when I was younger. Like, we had no affiliation. We had no, you know, level above us to train. So I think it's a great opportunity for them, but hearing their conversations and what they talk about was hilarious.
Tell what are they talking about?
Girls.
All.
Yeah.
Well, I asked Brian about this too. The video game culture, at least from my perspective, within the Sounders, seems pretty strong. Are any of you guys involved in that? Are any of you, doing these network games? It sounds like there's little, we hear Christian's playing with guys at the national team, and at the same time with guys here, and Steph is playing with a bunch of guys, and Chad Marshall. Are you guys involved in that at all?
I never really got super into it. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. That's like the original game I grew up playing, that and Halo. So those are two games that I still fall back to. But I've been playing a lot of Switch, Mario Kart, with the guys in the training room, giving them lessons on how to drift and race. So.
Yeah, I stick to usually 2K, FIFA, Halo. I still go back and play the original one. But I've tried Fortnite here and there. They got good at building, and I was like, I got to move on. Yeah. And then I tried out Apex. That just came out kind of. That's pretty fun. But I don't know about these lessons that he's been teaching so far. That Mario Kart, I've caught on kind of quick.
No, I don't think I've touched a controller in 5 to 6 years.
I'll just have to check his Instagram.
Johnny 25, if you ever want to get a roller off Amazon.
Hit it up.
Buy in bulk.
So Jordan, you've been playing some left back during the preseason so far this year. Is that an entirely new position for you? How do you approach, being asked to play a different position like that?
So what's funny is no one really realizes I played left back for 4 of the years I was in college.
Okay.
So
do you like it?
I like it a lot because I get to come inside and I feel a little better cutting in and being able to be more versatile. But I'm outside back, left, right. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll take either one. But so actually I was playing on the left side of Johnny Campbell as a left back for most of my career in college.
And how good of a left back was he in college?
He was feisty.
Yeah?
How good was he? He goes,
Wait,
he was feisty.
I think he got drafted above me, so I consider him pretty good.
Good answer, good answer.
Well, guys, that's about all I have for you. I did want to ask one more question, though. Do any of you have, how would you describe your boating experience? Do any of you have actual yachting experience now that you're in Seattle?
I have a boating license in Virginia, so I don't know if that counts, but
I would think it counts.
It actually doesn't. It doesn't count across states. I've checked into it, but no, we had a boat in a lake house up in Monetta, Virginia. So I'm a pretty good boater.
Okay.
I don't have a yacht though. I could use that.
Okay.
I've got a fishing pole. That's about canoe. Those are my two boating experiences.
I've been on a couple boats. I'll tell you that. They're fun.
God, I've only seen yachts in Seattle, is that right?
Right, that's all we have. That's all we have. That's how we get
Only
around
yachts.
from one place to another. So says the legend.
Uber yachts.
So we're going to see if you guys want to. We would love to have you play. What was it? What was that? The dogs? Oh, I guess I'm supposed to ask you guys about. Give us your dog stories. How many of you have dogs?
There it is.
Theo.
I guess we need more info on Leo. See, the Instagram is working.
Oh, okay. See, I know.
Leo's got promo codes too.
Are either of you dog enthusiasts other than Johnny here?
I have a dog, but it's not here with me currently. It's back in Atlanta.
What kind of dog is it?
I've got a boxer.
Boxer, and it's just home alone?
I wish I could bring him out here, but the amount of time we're traveling, and I don't want to just leave him alone, you know?
Fair enough, fair enough. All right, well, okay. That was, I think we're going to bring in Nate Bowling, and we're going to get you guys to play a little game. I'm going to let him take over here, and hopefully this goes well. It's not raw eggs.
So, good evening, everybody. I'm just going to see what Twitter's saying right now. Campbell, you're a damn handsome man. Welcome to the team. Okay. So this game is called Line 'em Up. And it's going to take me a couple of moments to line them up. But essentially, fellas, what we're going to do is we're going to have 2 lines of cups. And you're going to have a tub of ping pong balls. And your job is going to be to get a ping pong ball into each cup in the line. Whoever finishes the line wins. It's going to be a tournament, so we have 3 of you plus Jeremiah. And so we're going to do 2 rounds, and then winners face off, and we'll have a title at that point. Sound good? Yeah. Awesome. Let's do it. Nope. Just play some music while I set up, please. So you're going to go from... I'll do 4. I'll do 4. He can do 5. Are we good now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yep. And where am I going? You're going to bounce from which side? From here toward here. Okay. Yeah, we're going this way, right? Yep, from here toward here. And so we are going against each other. So get first 5, I guess. I got this. May I again? So here we go. We're all set up now. Here's the goal of the game. We're going to play 2 rounds, and then winners face off. Everybody has a tub of ping pong balls, and what they're going to do is try to bounce a ping pong ball into their cup. So it's going to take a lot of practice, but into the cup. You get no practice. And it's called Line 'em Up because you have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The first person to win, to go through their round from here to there, wins their heat. And then we'll go the other way around. I'm going to ask for some help from y'all. They're going to miss a lot. So if folks sitting right there can help me out here, that'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay, so there's 2 separate races that are going against...
2 separate races, Jeremiah.
Okay. Hold on, wait.
Thank you. All right, so first 2. Okay. So Jordan and Jeremiah, just slide down a little bit. Yep. And just, I think you should start from the end and then work your way in, because that way when you make it to the middle, you know you won. Look at you getting warmed up. So, you got, yeah. Starting from the ends, working your way to the middle. Sounders fans, make some noise for your boys. 1, 2, 3, begin.
How far back do you have to be?
You got to bounce it.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This game is harder than it looks, by the way. It's harder than it looks. That's 1. That's 2. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, Will's on it. I think there's a victory of Bruin. Three to go versus 4 to go. This is tight.
Come on, Campbell.
Campbell off the rim.
2 and 1.
Bruin with 2 to go. Campbell with 4. There it is.
You got 2 and 1? Showboated.
All right, so
They like in 60 your fingers.
I should have seen the Bruin chant coming. So, in the next round now, we're going to have Jeremiah versus Jordan McCrary. Will, do you have any advice you want to give them really fast? Any advice?
I'll tell you. Oh, good talk. Now it's, once you make the first, it goes pretty smooth. Yeah, no, it does.
Thank you. All right, so round 2. On your mark. Get set. Beat Portland. Go. So McCurry with 2, O'Shan with 1. McCrary's showing excellent bounce. There it is, 3. He's kind of found his groove. Nice steady distance. O'Shan struggling a little bit. McCrary with 4. Going for the 5th. That's 5. I'm not a gambler, but if I was betting, I would bet on this. That's 6. That's 7. Oh! 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 Somebody grab my cell phone, do the reggae horn. Wah, wah, wah. Jordan McCrary with 1 to go. Just take a deep breath. You got a nice lead. Take a deep breath. Almost there. Almost there. O'Shan with the comeback. There it is. There it is. If you couldn't hear Jeremiah say, it's impossible, it's impossible. Clearly, it's not impossible, but it is quite difficult. By the way, I forgot to announce the grand prize. Emily, can you hold up that beautiful prize, please? Yes, yes. So we're going to call this the appropriate name. This is the Line 'em Up Champions League. On your mark. No pressure. Get set. We all hate Portland. 3, go Sounders. McCurry with the first one. Bruin with 1. Oh, Jordan with 3. Bruin with 2. Jordan's got that nice light touch, man. There it is. There it is. There it is. My man. Let's go. Oh. Oh, 1 to go, 1 to go, 2 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 to go. Ah! Ah! Oh! Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years. Hey. Yeah. So, with the powers vested in me, as the officiant of this ceremony, I'm going to sign the certificate now. Congrats to the winner of the Line 'em Up Champions League, Will the Thrill Bruin! Absolutely a winner. Right. And thank you. Thank you. Welcome to town. And thank you.
Yeah, you get a yacht. You get a yacht for that. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed that much more than I did. That was, for me, brutal and embarrassing, and it's like you guys are trained athletes. Because I think this is a very athletic, hand-eye coordination kind of game. But so we had a couple questions from the audience that I realize now that I failed to answer. We're running a little ahead of schedule. You guys have a couple more minutes to take a few of these questions. Yeah. All right. So, which one of your? So we asked about Leo, but what about is Molly? Is that whose dog is?
Yeah,
That's
Molly,
your dog.
Molly's
Molly's
fine.
the dog from the The video.
Yeah.
I know. I knew it.
I thought that was you.
Karina Martin.
We need to know how Molly's doing. That's the question.
Molly's good, yeah. Miniature golden doodle. You know, I think she's the best dog in the world, better than Leo and Pitbull over here. But she's good. She just got a haircut, and she looks like a poodle. I think she looks better when she has shaggy hair. But I don't make those executive decisions.
Right. So this one is from that was from Bread, or otherwise known as B Mantle. This one is from Rev Mike Boone. He wants to talk about burgers. If you had to choose a regional favorite, and first of all, have any of you guys tried a Dick's burger?
Yes.
Yes. No Dick's yet? Have you had Dick's yet?
Yeah.
Don't act like you have.
All right. What's your assessment of the this is like a big Seattle question. What's your assessment of a Dick's burger?
I've heard people compare it to In-N-Out, and I was gonna say, yeah, I don't think it's like as good as In-N-Out, but my father-in-law like absolutely loves it. Like every time he comes in town, he's like, we have to go to Dick's. Like that's first stop. But I do enjoy it.
Okay. Have you? Well, you gotta like. Let's compare it to Whataburger.
I've only had Whataburger one time.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, we don't have that one in Atlanta. But I was a victim of everybody overhyping Dick's.
Yes,
and then I was standing outside and it was cold, so it was like it's not a good situation already. Karina's got the next round if no one gets it.
Just keep that tab open.
So this is a bit of a pop culture question.
We got a varsity
First
shout.
of all, how many of you are watching Game of Thrones? Either, yes.
For the first time.
For the first time. How many of you are caught up?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're caught up.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
End of season 5, no spoilers.
No spoilers here, but do any of you have I don't know if we can ask this question without spoilers, but
Do I need earmuffs?
you might need earmuffs. Do you guys have any theories on how the show is going to wrap up? Is there going to do you think it's going to be a satisfactory ending, or is it going to be open-ended?
I don't want to ruin this for him, but
I appreciate
I could
that.
do this for. We
appreciate
can talk
that,
about this
Barry.
off the side. We can do this a lot.
Okay.
Jeremiah's trying to ruin it for me here.
I know. That was almost. I think I saved myself.
Good.
You have any theories? Broad theories?
I mean, I think they would come down to a final ending. I don't think they would leave it open-ended.
Okay. So okay, this one. So, Johnny, someone, I don't know who asked this question, but they want to know, are you worried about competition at center back from Will? Like, are you worried about Will moving to center back?
at heart, baby.
Honestly, he keeps bringing it up. I think he doesn't want to run as much, so he's like, maybe if I move to center back, I could do less running.
You're just figuring that out now.
Yeah.
I have a career of getting kicked by center backs. I want to be the one kicking.
See, it was his fault to make that decision early on to play as forward. You know, he should have been smarter and decided center back. Yeah. So
that's on me.
It's on him.
That's on me.
All right. Did you ever have that moment for yourself where you were like I'm guessing that at some point someone tried to make you a forward?
When I was growing up, I did play forward, and I was like relatively fast for that age. And they're like, you know what? You could actually be pretty good at center back. So I switched back there, but it was a long time ago.
Did anyone try to get you to play center back, or are you always scoring?
I've always been put it forward, but I'm telling you, mark my words, I'm going to be a center back.
We're going to hold you to that
Eventually.
one for sure. All right, guys. Well, you've all been good sports. I'm amazed at how good you are at beer pong, essentially. Clearly a lot more practice than I have.
Yeah, what did they do in college?
I know. That was...
Man, I've been out the longest of these guys, and I'm just teaching them how it's done. I got a baby coming in a month, and I'm still putting them to work.
Well,
He's getting ready to teach the baby.
Yeah, right.
We're actually running a little ahead of schedule, so we're going to move some stuff around, but we're going to play an interview that Will did with me earlier. I don't necessarily know if you want to sit around and watch this or not.
Yeah, I don't like watching
But we're going to play that, and then at the end of that, we're going to have Garth Lagerwey, and we're going to close it out with him. So thanks a lot for doing this, guys. You were great sports. And give them a round of applause.
That just means we could have got a free flight.
Right, I know.
Downstairs.
I know. You should tell them that you.
Darn. I mean, that could be, but that's a far walk.
Welcome to Yacht Ones, the very first episode of Yacht Ones. We're here at YachtCon. Or actually, we're not here at YachtCon. This is the pre-event to YachtCon. But I'm Jeremiah O'Shan. We're joined by the one and only Will Bruin of the Seattle Sounders. We're here at Optimism Brewing. We're going to be going through a tasting flight. And as the beers get better, our assumption is that the answers are also going to improve.
Put it in front of me too early.
No, I put it in front of you. That's what's going to happen. So you've got 2 U.S. national team caps. I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Both of them came in the 2013 Camp Cupcake, I believe, right?
Yeah.
What those were kind of.
I won the Gold Cup in 2012 as part of that roster. Yeah.
Did you had a cap in the Gold Cup?
I was one of the 2 players that did not see a cap, but stayed past the first. I think Hercules Gomez got injured and sent home, so I was able to stay for the whole camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a you have a
it's
Gold
a nice
Cup
fun
medal.
fact. Yeah,
it
exactly.
is a fun fact. I did not.
No,
Wikipedia did not have that fun fact.
Exactly. Hey, you can't trust everything you see on the internet, huh?
So those were kind of the early and maybe even the glory days maybe of Jurgen Klinsmann.
Yeah.
What was your memory of Jurgen as a coach and of the kind of the atmosphere around the team?
You know, I got along really well with Jurgen. Got called into camp. I think 2012 camp. I did pretty well. I did well in that camp. I subbed in for Landon Donovan on his last appearance. I believe his last appearance before the Gold Cup. But you know, I thought I played well. I thought I was going to have more opportunities. I was doing well at trainings for the Gold Cup. Never got into a game, but was always on the bench. Won the Gold Cup, and then I was injured for a January camp the next year. Couldn't go. Jurgen wanted me to come and just be there, like part of the squad, while I was injured. And I was younger, I was naive, I was stupid. That's probably my biggest regret as a professional player, was not just going and being like, look, I want to be part of the group. I want to be part of this going forward. Instead, I was like, you know, I'm not going to be able to play. I'm going to stay back. And, you know, my older self now, looking back, like, that was stupid. That was really dumb. When you get an opportunity to come in and be part of it, even if you're injured, you go F and do it. And that's something I regret, but, you know, I own all my mistakes. I'm not going to dwell on it, and, you know, it is what it is.
So we're going to move into this maybe a little different area here. What are some of the characteristics that you look for in a good roommate out on the road? A team roommate?
Yeah. Cleanliness.
Cleanliness?
Yeah.
Is that a problem with some roommates?
I'm easygoing. I don't think it's a problem. I just think it's more annoying than anything. Like, stick to your area, I'll stick to my area.
Okay.
I don't mind not talking. That's not a big deal for me. I'd rather have somebody not talk so much than somebody who's talking my ear off when I'm just like, leave me alone.
Which is maybe why you and Clint were good roommates, right?
Yeah, I think we were good roommates. He stuck to himself. That's easy for me. That doesn't bother me. You know.
Your wife, Caitlin?
Yeah, Caitlin.
You met in college?
Yeah, she actually has the record in Indiana for digs from a libero.
Okay, so that she was playing libero.
Yeah.
So did you ever have to go through did you ever have to show up at her family function and show off your volleyball skills? And they
no. I thought you were gonna say ever have to show up at her apartment and be like, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I had to do that a few times. No, volleyball was not my strong suit.
No?
She never saw a soccer game before we started talking or whatever.
Right. Well, I was not intending to ask this, but now I'm curious. How did you guys meet?
So we had a soccer house, and they had a volleyball house, and the soccer house just liked to, have fun, throw parties. Volleyball people like to go out too. So they came over a lot, and how could you not be attracted to this?
Right.
No, just kidding. Yeah, and I punched somebody over her. So.
Did you really? Okay, now we need to know that.
Oh no, I need more beers.
Well, we'll come back to that then.
And he was my friend.
It was your friend. This sounds very good. All right, so you are about a month out from being a first-time dad.
Yeah, 3 weeks almost.
3 weeks? You said 3 weeks?
Yeah.
What would you describe your mentality going into this? Is it more nervous or less nervous than your MLS debut?
Less nervous.
Less nervous?
Actually, I don't remember how I was feeling on my MLS debut. I remember in Houston, we played at University. University of Houston was our game. We played Philadelphia Union's expansion team.
Right.
And I was up at center forward with Jason Gary, who is now my financial advisor.
Nice.
So, I don't remember if I was nervous. I'm sure I was, but I'd probably say I'm less nervous for the
debut. But you're not feeling nerves. Are you excited?
I am feeling. I'd say more let's get it going, sort of thing. But
how would you describe your level of preparedness? Are you reading all the books? Are you
not reading anything?
Good.
And my wife showed me a YouTube video that was 30 seconds long, and I was like, okay, I feel better now.
Is she? What's her feeling?
She's the nervous one.
Is she?
Which
is she nesting? Is she creating a?
She's like, we're not ready for this. Nothing's prepared at the house. I'm like, it's a baby. He's not going to remember his first.
It's true. And this is a section we call "What's That Gram," which we stole. It's the name we stole. So this one is from. This is a post, a series of posts from your wife that I think you'll like.
I've had to reprimand her on social media before.
Yes, this is actually you reprimanding her. Watch this video. You know the series of these videos, I'm sure.
Yeah.
This is Will trying to get a fat boy couch open.
It's not working.
It's not working very well. It's a rather long series of posts.
Yeah. These are all the posts?
Yeah, this is there's 5 posts or something. She was relentless. Caitlin was relentless on these.
Oh, and Molly. There's Molly, so it makes sense.
Yeah, your dog is in this. And it ends happily, though. You do, you seem to get frustrated with her.
I'm watching YouTube videos on how to do it?
Yeah, you're watching YouTube videos.
There, it works. That's how stubborn I am.
No, but wait.
That's all we're filling it up with. No more.
Right. And then she follows it up with you at the beach trying to get it done. And she's laughing.
But here's the thing. At the end of the story, did I get it done?
You did get it done. See, look at this.
Look at that. See, simple.
Perfectly.
Simple.
What is the deal with this? First of all, I love this post, not because it's making you making fun of you, but just because I feel like it's a window into your relationship, into your life. That your wife is filming you doing this, despite you being clearly frustrated with the situation, with her, with the dog just wants you to play catch with her.
Did it get done?
It got done.
Interesting.
Is there a talk afterwards? She clearly
no. You
never got her to take it down.
I don't know she's filming.
Right.
It's not like she's I'm filming here. Try it. It's I have no idea until I see it afterwards, and then I say, what the fuck you filming for?
And so does that, do you feel vindicated at the end of this?
I give her the green light. She's probably a better follow than me, because I give her the green light to be follow or do whatever she thinks is suitable. She's told me multiple times, I should be your social media person. She goes, I can get you way more followers.
Yes.
I already paid too much for you. I can't hire you on for another. And
So the last thing I want to show you is an image that's not necessarily on social media, but it's an image I'm sure a lot of our listeners and viewers will have seen, and I just want you to comment on this incident. If you remember this, this is you giving the thumbs up, double thumbs up to, I believe, Ted Uncle.
No, that's not Ted Uncle.
Who is that?
That's
I can't remember his name. We'll get his name.
I know, this is really bugging me now because
I
I literally just saw him at the pro meeting that we did.
I know. But okay, so you're giving him what? This is the New England Revolution game, I believe.
Yeah, where we came back and tied
came
it,
back
yeah.
from 3-0 down to tie at 3-3. I believe you had a
I don't get many yellow cards.
You don't?
The fact that I get a yellow card is just...
It looked like you were looking for the yellow card.
I feel like I need to get more yellow cards.
Probably.
Yeah. I need to sharpen these up a little bit and start giving it back from what I get. I think that'll be a goal of mine this year. Get more yellow cards.
Okay.
You heard it first here.
I like that. What prompted that? It felt like you looked like you were looking for the yellow card.
It was like heat of the moment, like where you can sense that we're coming back. You can sense it, and he's trying to slow the game down. Right. He's telling us to, oh no, don't worry about it. He's letting New England like, oh, take your time on goal kicks, whatever, no problem. Right. It's a foul, I take your time.
Right.
It's like that shit pisses me off. It's like every team that comes into Seattle, they get the benefit of the doubt every single game. Mm-hmm. Every single game, they give they have their best performance of the year, and then the refs help them out. It's ridiculous, and I think it's like people always want to say like Seattle has a home field advantage. Yeah, we have great fans, we have great support, but we don't always get the best calls. We get most of the time. Refs give us bad calls because they think we're getting a home field advantage. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I've seen both sides of it because I've been in Houston playing Seattle thinking, oh, they get everything, Now that I'm here, we don't get shit. Like, it's crazy. Look how many PKs we got last year.
Right.
I think we had, 3 or 4?
Right.
Teams get 3 or 4 in a month.
Right.
It's crazy.
Atlanta, I think, gets that every game.
It's unbelievable. Exactly. It's unbelievable to me. It's unbelievable. How many PKs did Joseph Martinez have?
I think he had
I'm going to say 10. Yeah, exactly. Double digits. That's crazy. Then the league will probably give him a huge bonus for scoring X amount of goals.
Right.
But half of those are PKs.
Yeah, this shouldn't count.
I've always said PKs shouldn't count. Always said it, because I've never scored one. So I always said.
The celebration, I should say, that followed, I want to say the next week, you did a goal. You did the double thumbs up celebration.
It's kind of just turned into a thing.
It kind of turned into a thing.
But
that's like you kind of seem to like see the social media reaction.
Yeah, it's
cool. And you
I think it's awesome. It's like, for me, I think it's really cool. Now I'm sure you guys know better than me. I don't know if I feel like I'm liked here by the vast majority.
I don't want to stay on. I think you're liked.
So in Houston, I was always the disliked person.
Really?
And that was like, so for me, I'm embracing this. I love it. And I think it's really cool. I try to give it back because I've never been the opportunity because it's always been like, F Bruin, whatever. And so now I'm just like, oh, wow, it's cool. This is what it's like on the other side.
Right. So the last time we had you on the podcast,
look at that.
You you said that like your kind of go-to place was Brambling Cross. You were living in Ballard at the time.
Yeah, we moved.
You now are in Beacon Hill. I assume, have you bought a house in Beacon Hill?
Yeah, we bought a house in
That must
North
feel...
Beacon Hill.
Yeah, must feel good to buy a house.
It does.
Did you didn't own a house in Ballard, I assume?
No, we were renting. So here's the funny thing. I'd like to call it... I always have a funny thing for every story.
Sure,
right?
of course.
So in Houston...
That's why you're here.
In Houston, I was there 5 years, 6 years. I was like, this is the time to buy a house. Like, now it seems great. Right. 11 years later, traded. So I think I might as well buy a house sooner than later here. Market came down a little bit. It could have still came down more, but I just want to make it through 11 months.
Yeah.
Did I say 11 years earlier?
You said 11 years. I
meant 11
you meant
months.
11 months. I didn't think you'd been there that long.
That's the sweater weather right
That's the sweater weather wreaking its havoc. What's the worst piece of advice anyone has ever given you? Either in sport or in life?
Oh, God.
Now we get in.
Yeah.
Now we settle in.
I don't even know, like...
Have you ever gotten a good piece of advice?
No. I really don't think so. I feel like everybody...
Only bad advice.
Everybody thinks they have, like, the best advice, but it always correlates to your individual moment.
Yes.
So it's like I've never actually gotten good advice where I'm like, that's it.
That's it.
it's always like, come on, do your best, try your hardest. And I'm like, well, no shit. No, that's always what I try to do. But, you know, I think for me, just, this is going to sound very cliche, but like in this day and age, doing everything with social media and everything has to go on the side, just, you got to screw it off, kind of. You just got to kind of, it's not there. Just be you.
Right.
And I think that's one of the most important things, because you see a lot of people that always want to give the politically correct answer, want to give the answer that people want to hear.
Sure.
For me, you know, in the media and everything, I always say what I think.
Yeah.
And sometimes you like it, sometimes you don't, and I think that's the most important, just be yourself. And that always sounds very cliche, like the easy answer, but this day and age, people aren't themselves.
Yeah,
people are
absolutely.
always who they think, like, I'll act like who I think you want me to be.
Right.
Just be yourself.
Right.
Like, have fun with your life. You only get one.
Right.
Enjoy it, and, you know, I think once you realize who you are and who you want to be, you'll be a lot more happier and have a lot more success.
All right, well, I'm going to share with you the best piece of advice I ever got, and it was actually about being a father.
Okay.
And it was from Alexi Lawless, believe it or not.
Oh.
And he said...
See, I like Alexi. I think he tells us how it is.
He just said, accept that you don't know what's going to... Like, you can't just write it out.
You learn as you go.
Right. That was the best piece of advice I ever received, was, like, you cannot... there's no prep.
Plans never go according to plan.
Exactly. So that's a... Maybe we'll end
I
it
feel
on
like
that
we're on
note.
the same page here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Will.
No, thank you, Jeremy.
This was Yacht Ones. We finished up 6 flights. There we go.
Now, one flight of 6 beers.
One flight of 6
6
beers.
flights sounds
6
like
flights
a lot.
would be too much.
God.
It would be too much.
Schmetzer would be calling you.
He's going to probably be calling me anyway.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, hope you enjoy the rest of YachtCon. What'd you say?
Have him call me.
Have him call you. All right. Hope you're enjoying YachtCon.
If you ever yacht, never yacht alone.
I guess that's my cue. So had a couple more announcements before we have, I assume Garth is going to be here shortly. But a couple announcements first. This is the last call for the 50-50 raffle. My understanding is there is about $850-ish that we're going to be splitting as of now. So there's a decent pot of money in the 50-50 raffle. If you want to do that, I would do it now. And then we're going to announce we'll do the drawing after Garth's interview. And then also at the end of Garth's interview, we will announce all the winners. So the auction's going to end right around 9 o'clock. And what you'll do is you'll go to your item. If your name's been circled, you take the item to the cashier and you pay out, and everything's all good. So I'm going to go check on our next guest and talk amongst yourselves for a few minutes, and hopefully I'll be back shortly. So rather than have you wait and do nothing, the one and only Steve Zakuani is here. I figured we would talk about your documentary that is, or unless you want to just freestyle for...
Talk about the team. It's about the season.
You want to talk about the season?
Yeah.
All right. What are your impressions of this so far winless preseason?
No, you know, I was a part of teams that won every preseason game, then had a horrible season, and teams that lost every game had a great season. So it's not really an indicator. What I will say is that Saturday's game is the most important one because that's the one where you get to see everyone. But you got to be excited. You know, Jordan's back. I think Christian's going to grow some more. A fully of Rui Diaz. So preseason's one thing. I don't mind too much what happened. I think the team's in pretty good shape. And as long as it's a good start, I think the schedule is very favorable. Win 3-4 games on a bounce, and it can be a good season.
So I do want to give a plug to your documentary that you have supplied 2 DVDs that are available for auction. Have you had your premiere yet? I know you had to move it.
We had the premiere planned for February 9th, and then the snow came.
Right.
So we canceled. So it's actually this Saturday.
This Saturday.
So just up the street
still
from
tickets
here.
available?
A couple. So
if you want to go get tickets now.
Go online right now, yeah.
So we'll move back into the season. What have you liked out of the young guys that we've seen so far?
You know, I always look out for the young players because I want them to get more chances. Obviously, the 15-year-old kid last night, I haven't seen that before for the Sounders. That was really good. I want to see the progression of like Handwala Buana, Alex, those kids. So I think your second year is the most important one. Your first year as a rookie, everything's new, it's fun. But your second year, you got to start affecting the score sheet. So Handwala for me, because he's a winger, I watch him very closely. I think he's very talented, and I want to see him get more opportunities and also take those opportunities.
Do you have a player that you have kind of identified as a breakout candidate, someone that you is maybe going to kind of take that leap that, you know, Jordan, I guess, took his rookie year, Christian took his second year?
You know, it's going to sound crazy because he's already broken out, but I think Christian's going to grow even more because I think he's already fantastic. But with the general Osvaldo Alonso gone, there's a hole now for a new leader. And I don't think Christian has to fill Ozzy's role at different players, but he's a guy who can score goals, assist, and I think he can add to his game and become like an undisputed star in MLS. So that's who I'm watching. I think it's his team if he wants it to be, and I think he's going to grab the opportunity, and I want to see that.
Have you talked at all to, you mentioned Ozzy, have you talked to Ozzy since he moved?
I saw Ozzy on the day he flew to Minnesota, yeah.
Where did you see him? You see him here?
I went to his house, yeah.
And what was his mood like? What was his mindset?
No, he was excited. It's a new challenge. Obviously, he had his kids, his wife, they were all moving. He's sad because he loves Seattle. I think in a perfect world, from the club side, his side, they would have figured something out. But just the way it was set up, it was time to move on. So we're going to see a very motivated Osvaldo Alonso. And I've talked to him a couple of times during preseason. He likes it down there. He's enjoying it. But no, I think on that day, because his flight was that evening, he was a little bit sad.
So this offseason has been pretty quiet. Yeah. Are you satisfied as an analyst with the state of the roster, assuming there's no more changes before first kick?
I don't think I'll ever be satisfied. I'm a fan, so I always want to see the team do well. I think the one position that's been missing for years now is you just want a winger who's time/DP level, someone who can take pressure off of Nico, off of Rui Diaz, and who can just pick the ball up, go at people, create his own shot. I think those players are out there, so maybe that's what's missing. And you can ask Garth when he comes, but I think that's what I would look for if I was signing someone.
So talking about another person from your past, Caleb Porter in a new position, what's your sense of the Columbus Crew whole thing? Were you surprised when he went there? I guess it's kind of in a way going back home for him.
Yeah. No, I was with him as well when he was talking to LA. We were at an event in Ohio together, so I had an idea it was LA or Columbus. Him choosing Columbus is the Ohio factor, I think. I know he's not the most popular person in Washington, but he's a friend of mine. He's a good coach. I think they're going to be good. He's inheriting a good base with Berhalter. So no, I wish him well. Not against Seattle, but in general, I think in the Eastern Conference, I wish him well, honestly.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to end this. Again, Steve Zakuani's documentary, Unbreakable. Go check it out. Thank you, Steve, for doing this. And I believe we have, should we hold off? Yes? We have Garth here in the house. So let's welcome him up. I'm going to leave you on stage all by yourself. And I wanted to do it in the most dramatic way possible. Garth, thank you for coming. What do you think of the parking situation in Capitol Hill?
I'm a rookie. Novice. This on?
There we go.
You got a live one.
I know.
Yeah, we're coming in from the suburbs. This is just exciting for me to be up at 9 o'clock at night. Back-to-back nights, too. Big game. Kids went to bed late. Here I am, Capitol Hill.
There's a part of me that really is hoping that the reason for all this was that you were putting the kids to bed, because I have been in that exact situation so many times.
All kidding aside, Alex is like, do you want to go at like 7? And I'm like, actually, dude, if I can get the kids down by 8, the wife's going to be real happy, and I can do YachtCon after that. So that's how we did it.
All right, well, good.
We're livening up the crowd right now.
We are definitely talking about kids. That's the way to get to their hearts, obviously. So I'll just start with this. I guess technically we've already started, but this has probably been the least active offseason maybe of your entire general manager career. I think that's probably by design. But what kind of challenges does it face when you have a roster that you are genuinely pretty happy with?
I think that I think, honestly, we complained for the last 2 years that our off seasons were too short, and it led to injury and stress and pressure and all the things we had to accomplish in a short period of time. And now this extended period of time has helped us invent ways to try to find things to get upset about. So, when you win 15 and 19 games, that's not bad. Best half-season MLS history, and then you bring the whole team back. That seems like a good thing. If we have 7 fewer starters injured this year than we did last year, that'll probably help. For the home opener against the expansion team, we're going to have our full team and not have to play Champions League. And anyway, there's some things that add up and make you think, don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Like, just, go with what you got. We're really good. I mean, and there's some reasons why we might be even better. Jordan Morris is back. And we started the show flashes last night already about what we see from him as a right winger and what he can bring to the table. We're putting Christian Roldan in his best position. We were playing him a little bit out of position for the stretch run last year. And then we have Brad Smith back and healthy, and a Nuhu raring to go, and other guys coming on and developing. Another year of Buana, full year of Rui Diaz, and so I think there's room for optimism on top of that. Now, I think we may still add a piece or two. One may even be sooner than later, but it's part of the challenge is to get players better than the ones we got. It's hard. I mean, we don't have a guy on paper where you look at it and you're like, we got to upgrade him. Our guys are good, and they've been good for a while. We've been at this 1.8 plus points per game pace, which is a 60 points per season pace we've been on for over 18 months now. So that's something worth following. I didn't follow that.
Steve Zakuani left his keys here.
Oh, okay.
That would have been a little awkward,
yeah.
Which I'm guessing he got to his car and thought, I have no way of getting out of here. So you mentioned on KJR the other day that you guys weren't planning on signing a splashy third DP. I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit more on the thinking behind that. Is that simply a function of the budget, or is there other things at play here?
Well, there's a couple things. One is, the DP slot's going to be filled, just like it's been every day of every season ever. I mean, we've used it on Ozzy Alonso in the past. Our highest paid player at this point after the DPs is Victor Rodriguez. It's probably him. And you guys have heard us say a couple of times now, we want to be strategic in how we use the DP slots. These guys are 3 to 5 year commitments. They're franchise cornerstones, and they're long-term investments. And so we want to get them right. The market for them is better in the summer. And we have a couple of things that we want to look at, honestly. Again, we feel like our team is pretty good. We don't say that arrogantly. We don't say that without risk. We got to stay healthy, et cetera, et cetera. But on the path we're on, I think a conservative approach is merited because we've had some success with this group. And by waiting until the summer on a DP signing, it allows us to really identify the area where we want and make an appropriate investment hopefully at the appropriate time.
So you've talked to me, you've said this other places, that you don't want to block a player like Jordan Morris before you really know what you have in him. And but you go further down the line, and is that something that you give consideration to when you have these academy kids that are coming through, or even someone like a Handwall Bwana, who, at some point you do need to, you probably need to give him a chance to play without having a DP right in front of him?
Absolutely. Those are definitely things that we think about. Now, I don't know that you can look at Danny Leyva at 15 years old and be like, you know what, he should start by summer. Now, we all hope that happens, but that's not really part of your planning necessarily. And look, I think Danny Leyva is the tip of the iceberg. I think you're talking about half a dozen of these kids coming through in the next year or two. So, if anything, we're excited that our first team staff has really embraced these kids and developed them and spent a bunch of time with them in preseason, and so they've become very much a part of what we've done in preseason. We've really worked on their development, and certainly this is part of it. So, look, we work in basically 3 to 5 year progressions from a contract standpoint. So, yes, this is on our horizon that we believe we have kids in 5 or 6 spots that may come through, and that will influence who gets re-signed and for how long and at what amounts. But I think when you're talking about teenagers, I at least am not smart enough to tell you when and who and how many.
So I just wanted to give one last plug. Our silent auction is ending in a minute or two. If you want to get in on a last bid, now is the time to do it. But on to more questions. This is something I actually asked Brian about a little bit. And I know that the Defiance helps with this developmental process, but at the same time, are there certain positions that are just virtually impossible? Oh, wow. This is what happens when you, yes.
Oh, that's enthusiasm.
This is what we happen.
Go,
when
get
we
him on a
have,
table. He's gonna have a hard time singing his kids a bedtime carol right now, when the voice is getting hoarse a little bit.
A little bit. He's pretty fired up, and that's this is the fun of having an event like this at a brewery.
Absolutely. I want to see Caulfield like that. You think we can get it? We can pump him full of some drinks and get him to sing like that by the end of the night. All right.
So I have this I'm curious about this. Are there certain positions that are just too valuable to really ever trust, like to be able to develop a homegrown player from 15 to being a star in this league, that because you need them to be producing? Can you ever develop a number 10 really, or a number 9, because you just need so much out of those positions? And how do you balance that?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting concern, but likewise, we took this on, and I said, when we were talking to the mayor and some of the public officials in Tacoma, that we thought we could do player development as well or better than anybody's ever done it. And if that's the ambition, then why can't we produce 9s and 10s for the national team? Why can't we produce players at that level? And I grant you that we haven't, and it's therefore to some degree an article of faith. But look, I think we've talked about this in other places. Not all these kids is going to have a linear path either, where they go from the 15s to the 17s to the 19s to the bench to starting for the Sounders. I mean, I think some are going to go out on loan. I think some are going to get sold out of Youth World Cups, whether that's the 17s or the 20s. And there's going to be different ways to get these kids experiences that don't necessarily involve you have to play this one role for the Sounders next season or you're blocked. And so some of it is, I think, is us being a little creative and collaborative too. I mean, because again, when you sit down with these kids and you sign them to a professional contract at 15, 16, 17 years old, you're meeting the family. I mean, I've met sisters and brothers and uncles and aunts, but you're investing in that family and part of who they are in their life. And that's why we have education requirements and all the defiance contracts. And, you know, these kids, I mean, we cannot lead them down a path where at 18 or 19, all of a sudden it's all over. I mean, that we don't talk about that much, but they have to be covered. They have to be accounted for in that. And so, you know, you try to block off that worst case scenario, but likewise, you try to keep open the path to being the next Nicolo Ladero or the next Raul Ruidiaz. I mean, Peru is not famous for developing soccer players. They were back in the 60s, and then there's about a 50-year gap, I think literally, and then they had this golden generation that made the World Cup. So why on earth can't we have that same production of players here in the United States?
So you've talked a lot about kind of revamping the Sounders Academy, in some ways kind of building it when you came here. What was the hardest part of doing that? Because it wasn't like there was literally nothing. There was clearly something here. But was there pushback? Was there, like, what were the challenges that came with investing a bunch of money into a program that hadn't had a lot of money invested in it?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the hardest thing was kind of looking at ownership across from me and saying, hey, I just got here, and I just need like a couple $1 million. How many? Maybe like 10, but it'll be over like a couple of years, and then after that, maybe I'll give some of it back to you. It's not your most convincing argument, as you know, I was about 9 months in when I pitched this, and I could kind of point and say, hey, with Salt Lake, they have these kids, but the Salt Lake kids hadn't hit at that point yet either. You know, they've been on some youth national teams, and you know they were coming through. And look, this is why being a GM is fundamentally interesting, because you really do make 5-year plans. It's not just communist China anymore. It's youth development, and you got to believe in a process. I mean, you got to establish infrastructure, and we went through affiliates and homestays and laid layer upon layer upon layer. We did coaching education, curriculum education in terms of passing all our affiliates. We increased our scouting budget. I mean, there are all these things that went into this. And look, it's got to work. It has to work. But likewise, if you look at MLS, Commissioner Garber said in December, we're a selling league now. And it doesn't mean we're going to sell all our players, but it means it's okay to sell players. Of the top 100 leagues in the world, the year before, MLS committed 98% of its expenses to wages and 2% for outgoing transfer fees. It was the most lopsided distribution. You have some big leagues that are almost 50-50 in terms of the wages paid to players and the wages accrued through sales. Like the league as a whole breaks even through player transactions. MLS was 98-2. So there's no shame in moving that needle a little bit to the middle. And so the commissioner said, all right, let's give this a try. We want to grow this league, right? There's a limit to how much our owners collectively are going to spend on that. If we want to catch the EPL and their payroll is $150 million more a year, I'd rather have them pay some of that delta than our owners pay the whole thing. So we started doing that, and in one transfer window, within 30 days of him saying that, there have been more players sold out of MLS. The combined transfer revenue in the last 30 days has exceeded that of the previous 21 years in MLS. So that's what we're going for. And again, no one is producing kids for the purpose of auctioning them off to the highest bidder. You know, we want to have these kids as part of the Sounders, have part of the Sounders family, but to have options for these kids to come through to be really professional players. I'm telling you, the smiles on, you guys didn't even see these kids, but Alec Diaz and Danny Robles and Marlon Vargas, the 3 kids who didn't play last night, those kids, they could not, they were just looking around like, it was just, they were transfixed by being on the bench and the crowd, and like, they came up and just shook my hand in the locker room after, and like they were just almost like floating on air. I mean, that's how cool an experience it was. And they didn't even get on the field, you know, and just to see, like, do you know how much, like, Jordan Morris is such a happy kid. This is on a different level, but when the crowd, when you all stood and cheered for Jordan to take the field, that was just a year of just crap, just falling out of him, just, oh man, I'm back. These are my people. And it just, again, he just was glowing in the locker room postgame. And so thank you all. Thank you all for that. It was just such a cool moment for that kid. And he came in and did well and could have had an assist, and hopefully bright things ahead.
So we've heard reports this offseason of a couple MLS teams apparently considering the possibility of not fielding academies. Does there have to be, for this to work, I assume there has to be an actual payday at the end that the academies have to be paying off. Maybe not totally equal, but there just has to be a payoff, right?
There does. Now, keep in mind that can come in a couple different forms. I mean, you know, we signed Jordan Morris to a long-term contract. It's a product of our academy. If you populate your team with lots and lots of players from the academy, you're probably going to have a very good team, and you're probably going to be very efficient, and then you may be able to spend additional monies on your team. So it's not going to necessarily be a dollar in, dollar out type of thing, and I do think it's the kind of model that's going to go a little bit up like this and that. I mean, you're going to have a year where you sell 3 to 5 kids, and you're going to have 3 years where you don't sell anybody. And that'll be a little bit a function of, again, how good are the guys in front of them and how well is the team doing, and, you know, what are the macroeconomic conditions where if you think back 2 or 3 years when China was going crazy, if someone comes in and offers you 5 times what someone's market value is, you're an idiot if you don't sell. So, you know, it's a long-term project, and we're going to have to see how it plays out. But, yeah, there has to be a payoff. And look, the primary payoff, whether by selling a player and reinvesting that money or having the player on the field, is the Sounders winning championships. That's why we're doing this. You know, if Atlanta is going to go spend right now $40 million in DP costs, we got to keep up, and this is what we thought going back 3 years now. For this, I think we're in our 4th year, and this is an investment in infrastructure and in people, and that's the things that I think we've gotten right. That over time we've invested in technology, we've invested in the right people, we've invested in the right process, and you don't have to go splash out $15 million a pop on a player on a one-off transaction, because you know what? As good as Almiron is, as good as I think Barca eventually will be, you're going to hit some and you're going to miss some. And if you want long-term sustained success, the way to do it, I believe, is the slow, steady build method that we've taken so far.
So I think we're going to take a little bit of a break here. We want to ask you a favor. We're going to draw for the silent or for the 50-50 here. The pot is $411.50 is going to go to the winner. We're going to put the raffle tickets into the Cascadia Cup, which ECS brought here today, which we are very thankful for them doing. And then we'll ask you a few more questions, and then we'll call us the night.
All right. Don't pick it up by the handle. Yeah. And don't mind the cat lady bag that we were using.
And also, I guess I'm told to say that the auction has officially closed, so if you feel like you want to go check on that, now is a good time maybe to do that, but also listen for your number to be called here.
Well, everybody notice how well styled Jeremiah's hair is? I mean, this is like he trimmed the beard up. I mean, this is the full program right here. This is your night out. You got your tux on?
I got a tux on.
What's going on with Jonathan Campbell? Oh, hanging out with him.
Yeah, because I was taking styling tips.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's a well-coiffed guy.
He's from Carolina. I mean, you got to forgive him for some of those fashion ideas and stuff like that. The raffle ticket.
Oh, you want me to?
You announced?
So maybe,
is that?
Yes. So the winner is 676. I'm sure all you have that one. 3983 is the winner. Wait a minute. Mike Standish. Wait, I don't think that a person that's not here can win. Go ahead and draw again. All right. 676 3675. 3675. Hey. So.
Hey, a guy with a beard won.
I know. That was. What are the chances? So we are presenting this in this wonderful magazine that you have all.
No beards there.
Hopefully seen. Here is your winnings. Congratulations. What is your name, sir?
Joe Gruber.
Joe Gruber. Is that right? Did I say it right? Gruber. Of course, like Hans.
Yeah, exactly, like Hans. Nice to meet you, Joe.
That was a Die Hard reference, people. All right. Well, thank you. Well, we'll close it out with a few more questions if you got it. No, we don't
we got it. We're done.
I think
All
we're
right.
done with
All
that
right.
part. Right? Am I right, Emily? Is that the end of that part? Yes. Okay. So
All right.
a few more questions. Someone just wanted. It was a kind of a practical question. Can Defiance play in the Open Cup?
No.
And it's just as simple as that.
They cannot play in the Open Cup, but all of their players can play in the Open Cup. So, I mean, when we're limited to 5 foreigners, I think, in those games.
Right.
But, that's one of the big teaching tools for them. I was talking to Aaron Artman from Defiance today, the guy who runs the Rainiers for us, and it's one of the things we're honestly really, really hoping for is we would love to have an Open Cup game that we host at Cheney. I think we'd sell the place out, no problem, and that would be a lot of fun, I think, for our kids to play in front of a crowd like that at home.
This one is from BT Weber, a very hard-hitting question. Why hasn't the Gold Elevator ever won the elevator race at halftime?
I'm going to have to address this with the higher-ups. I have no idea. Is it like it's different than like a golden, anyway,
I
race,
guess it's a color.
elevator? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, this one is from Aaron Bragel. It's another kind of practical question. How does the mechanism work where if you draft a player and you sign them to it, are you allowed to sign them to a USL contract, or do you
Yes.
How does that work? Like, what's the mechanism by which you retain their MLS rights?
So if you draft a player in a college draft, that means you have his rights within MLS for 2 years. If some players are signed before the draft, others are not. So if they're signed before the draft and you want to sign them to a USL contract, then you have to cut them, and they have to go through waivers and be made available to every other MLS team, because the idea is that having signed an MLS contract, they have to have the ability for another MLS team to pick them. But if they haven't been signed, and of the 3 kids we took this year, none had been signed before the draft, then you can simply say, hey, we don't see you as an MLS player at this time. We'd love for you to play for Defiance. Would you like to sign a contract with Tacoma? And, I think you're going to wind up seeing a couple of those kids head that direction.
So it's kind of, have you seen, how close of attention have you been paying to the CCL results up to this point?
Probably not as much as I should. I mean, the first round, obviously not a ton of close matchups. I know Toronto got shocked, and there's games going on right now, I think,
Yeah,
right?
Atlanta was, last time I saw Atlanta was losing 3-1.
Really?
3-1 was the final.
I'm on the record as saying this is the hard part for Atlanta. They've done everything right, and they've been unbelievable. And Darren Nielsen, my very good friend, and he's been correctly been Executive of the Year in the league back-to-back years. But it's this short turnaround between MLS Cup and Champions League. That's the single hardest thing in MLS to do, and then to try to sustain a season. You saw what happened to Toronto last year. You saw what happened to us. This is a harder year for Atlanta this year to do this again.
So just a reminder, if anyone wants to ask any questions in the last minute, send them to the Nos Arietes, or just hashtag it as YachtCon Nights. And we got a question here.
By the way, are you like a genie? Did you rub your hands together?
I know.
That question just appeared out of the audience?
A Sounders player is a Sounder. A Defiance player is a what? What would you call a Defiance player?
As a member of the Defiance. I mean, it's a movement. It's something to be embraced, right? I mean, it embodies Tacoma. I mean, it is. We have a Tacoma resident with us right in front of us. I mean, a Tacoma proudly Defiant, and a Defiance member would be part of the Defiance.
I'll end on this note, unless we get a couple more questions. But I know we've talked a lot about the slow starts and kind of combating the narrative of the slow starts. Are there any practical steps that you guys have taken, or is it really? I mean, I'll just put it out there like that.
Yeah, look. I mean, for those who have heard me in other settings, I mean, the slow starts is fake news. It is in 2016. We changed coaches, so clearly there was a lot of structural, foundational issues in that club and in that team, and we had the courage to change, and we won the title. In 2017, and this is one I tip my cap to Matt Pence, because I think he's written about it more than anybody, but we rebuilt the team on the fly. We won the title. We tore the team apart, and we took in 11 new guys. And under any circumstances of any team, if you try to integrate 11 guys at one time, you're not going to get it right perfectly. And we missed on right back, we missed on left wing, and we signed Leardom at right back, we signed Victor Rodriguez at left wing, and then we took off. We lost 2 games for the last 6 months of the season. So, and then last year, we've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, we had 7 starters injured. I mean, it just, if 7 starters get hurt, we're going to be just as bad this year. I mean, that's just a fact of life. And it was a fact of 2 extended title runs. We're doing our best. And I want to be supportive of our performance department, too, because it was the perfect storm, right? We changed performance coaches, so we went to a new performance program. Because of visa stuff, they got in late, so we didn't have a good preseason. We had the shortest offseason, 2nd consecutive in franchise history. Anyway, it all devolved. So I honestly don't worry about a slow start because for me, again, even include last year's slow start, right? We're at a 1.8 points per game pace since July 1st of 2017. So since we got our team right on the rebuild, where there were no more glaring holes for starters that maybe didn't belong, that's our pace. It's been a 60-point per game pace. And yes, within that, are you going to have runs of 5 games, 7 games, whatever, that might be a little bit up or down? Yes. But the overall macro trend has, in fact, been incredibly consistent. And it gives me a lot of confidence that, having said all that, we should, objectively, start well. Does that mean we will? I don't know. But if we don't start well, it's not because we're cursed with slow starts or that we haven't emphasized the beginning of the season or any of these things that have been discussed ad nauseum at this point. It'll be a reflection of something happens or something doesn't go right or we don't anticipate something. And it's not to say that we're not culpable for those things if they happen. We clearly would not have foreseen them, and it would be on me, it'd be on us. So, but I have very high hopes for the season, as I've said a couple different places. I've very high hopes for the beginning of the season. I think the season sets up very well for what we want to do, to have the kind of consistency we have, and to have the ability to add potentially 2 pieces, two pretty big pieces along the way. I think we're going to be really good, and we'll see. And the guys got to go out there and work, and the kids got to continue to develop, and we got to stay healthy, and we got to be consistent and all those things. But the potential is there for this to be a good season.
Well, that's all I have for you, Garth. Thank you for doing this. Thank you to everyone for coming out here today.
Thanks for having me. We really appreciate all your support. This club is amazing. Everybody who comes here is just continually impressed. Just talking to the Nacional people again last night, flying 14 hours, and they're like, "How do you get this many people for a friendly on a Wednesday?" No, and we laugh, right? And it was a moment of reflection for me, where maybe that wasn't the full house, maybe that wasn't the full Sounders package, but the folks from a long way away who played in a lot of big games and a lot of big stadiums at Copa Libertadores were like, "Wow, this is really cool. This stadium is awesome. This fan base is cool. ECS is unbelievable." I was like, man, you should come back on a weekend. So, but just thank you to all of you for your support of the club. This is a really special place to work. It's a special place to be. And we certainly wouldn't be what we are without all of you.
Well, thank you, Garth, for doing this.
Thanks, Jeremiah.
And, I want to, before you guys all take off, I did want to do some thank yous. First, a final shout out to the Seattle Children's Autism Center. They do some amazing work over there. I feel like we've done a good, I don't know how much we've raised, but it feels like it's been a positive thing tonight. I want to start off by thanking the Nos Audietis crew, especially Lickett, who edited the videos, designed all the lower thirds that were on the video. Emily Cummings, who I don't know if you've met tonight, but she did some amazing work. And when I say this event wouldn't have happened without her, I mean that absolutely sincerely. Jacob Cristobal and Susie Rance for their work on the rain panel. Jose Rivera designed the poster and the logo for the event, which I thought was pretty amazing. Adam Weigel and his Bootstrapper Studio crew. And Adam is going to be joining the Tacoma organization. You'll be seeing a lot more of his work. But his crew, Brian Henley, Jack Brinkley, and Shannon Gray. And then a bunch of the volunteers that helped make this happen tonight: Jeremy Hardwick, Mark Kastner, Andrew Beck, Joe Towner, Kelly Stevens, and of course my wife, Giovanna O'Shan. I want to thank all the people that donated prizes, Full Pull Wines, the Sounders, the Rain, Alex Caulfield here for helping wrangle guests onto this, Scott Levy, Steve Zakuani, James Woolard, Jane Gershovich, Matt Pence, Glenn White, Brendan Portalisi, Nate Bowling, and the Zach Scott Fan Club for donating prizes. And again, a shout out to David Eaton from the Seattle Children's Autism Center. And honestly, a big thank you to everyone that came here tonight. Coming out on a Thursday is not nothing, and I am absolutely thrilled to be able to do this, and I hope we do it again. Thank you. Good night. I'm Jeremiah O'Shan, and remember, you'll never yacht alone.